Hello and welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the week, part of the Enough Said podcast. I am Phil Parrish, and joining me as always is...
Charlie, yes sir.
The best in the business. So Charlie, you're starting us off this week, Ward.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Ms. Marvel, number 17. Very, nice little opener where we have, what's her name? Chloe, I want to say. The former bully, now out lesbian, because it got outed. Zoe, I'm sorry, her name is Zoe. See her at the locker as everyone's talking about all of her love poems that she sent to Nakia, and like, oh my God, Zoe's love letters to Nakia, the supercut video on MeTube, and everyone's being all down on her, and then Nakia comes up and she gives her a hug, and then Kamala hugs her, and then Mika hugs her. Then everybody comes to show we love you, because high school. It's a loving and supportive place. Actually, I'll be honest with you. When I went to high school, it kind of was a loving and supporting place. I really felt very at home in my high school. I hung out. There were cliques and stuff. There was jocks and nerds and drama kids. But I never felt like I was unloved in it. Other people had worse experiences than me. But I always felt safe and at home in high school. So this scene where everyone is like, "Hey, we love you, Zoe," even though you have the gay. It was very sweet. And then we get to the Circle Q. We see one of the folks from Kamala's guild there, and then in walks this guy with a trucker hat, and in walks some hipstery-looking dude. Turns out that Kamala has invited her whole guild to Jersey because they have to stop .X virus. Bum, bum, bum. And they all agree to work together in the world of Battlecraft, because what they're going to do is going to show niceness and camaraderie, and they're not going to they're going to be nice to everyone, because they know that the virus learns. So when they steal a bunch of other guys' treasure, they say, "Hey, dude, sorry, man, we didn't know you were staking it out. Here, we'll share our treasure with you," and do this epic gaming marathon where all the rules of the internet are off, and they all are happy. And we see that Doc.X is basically explaining to them that you underestimate the power. It says, "You think you can stop me with a little cutesy little meme? You underestimate the power of #gratitude, #Om, #blessed." And it says, I think it's working. And then she's trying to get the Doc.X virus out of the way, away from people. But then the Founders Day parade of Jersey City comes through, and it starts jumping from person to person as everyone starts being evil, because Doc.X is still feeding off of everyone's evilness. And then Doc.X manifests in the real world, and then, Kamala punches it. Which destroys it, because apparently it can do that. But it says, we see a cell phone on the ground glowing red, and it says, it's the victory of love over cruelty, but Doc.X was right. Is a temporary victory. Have we learned nothing? Are we going to change? Or will we go back to the way things were before? The end? ? Next issue, we see Bruno and Kamala both being sad, wishing they were hugging, but they're on opposite sides of the world. Thumbs up for Ms. Marvel number 17. I'm not 100% convinced on the Doc.X. I don't think I've ever really felt the threat of it. But it was a nice after school special, and it had its moments. It had its nice moments of drama and excitement while I was reading it. So it gets a thumbs up. It's not a bad book.
All All right, then I guess I'll counter. You started with a teenage girl. I'll keep that theme going. I'll go with Invincible Iron Man number 6.
Yay, Riri.
Yeah, on the recap page, she's basically recapping, saying, she's Ironheart. She's being trained by the Tony Stark AI, and she just had to team up with Pepper Potts. And then she's saying this morning she got an email that she should fly to Tony Stark's industrial complex in Dover, New Jersey. Again, New Jersey. Because Tony Stark's mother wants to have words with me. So it opens up. Riri's walking around Tony's armory. Just like wow. And then she stops in front of the red and silver armor. She's like, the Silver Centurion armor. She's like, are you kidding me? And Tony's mom's like, he called himself the Silver Centurion at one point. She's like, that is so much worse than Iron Man. And Riri's going through the history of the suit, how it's supposed to be a present for James Rhodes, she says, but then Tony ended up keeping it so he could beat Obadiah Stane. And then Tony's mom says, do you want to know why we brought you here? And Riri says, to make me feel like crap about my armor design choices. And that's when they all she's like, no. She's like, Mary Jane Watson? She says, yeah. And she goes, Friday? And Riri's like, I worship Friday. You are like the whole thing, lady. You are coding. Man, your coding is gorgeous. And Friday's like, I don't know about the rest of you, but I like her better than Tony. And the Tony AI is like, hey. And she's like, the real Tony, not you, the weird coded version he left lying around to haunt us. And Tony AI says, I'm not real. What is real? And Friday says, the butthole. The one with the butthole is the real one. Bendis.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, that's
Bendis. Come on. I thought this book was supposed to be about a Riri Williams, like a role model for young girls. Okay, let's. I don't know.
Well, I don't know about role model. I don't think any superhero should ever be anyone's role model. I'll be honest with you.
At least none written by Bendis.
But no, interesting they did a shout out to Rhodey.
Mm-hmm.
And then also pointed out that, Tony was kind of a butthole to him. Made him an armor and then decided to keep it.
Well, no, I don't know if you remember that storyline. That's the one where he came back, after Jim took over for him. And I don't think he had plans to go back, to being Iron Man, but then Obadiah Stane attacked, killed one of their friends, and, Rhodey was, injured. I think he had, a broken arm or something. And, yeah, Tony was making that new armor, but then he's like, no, you know what, this is it. I gotta stop Stane.
Yeah, but still, it's this idea that he's always giving Rhodey the short shrift.
Yeah.
I just think it's a very interesting thing that they called that out here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, as I've said, if we find out that Rhodey's body is in cold storage somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they uploaded him into the clone body, what'd they do with the old body?
Mm-hmm.
As we've learned from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you got to keep those bodies somewhere.
Yeah, so they, the ladies are talking to Riri about what happened with the Techno Golem, and Riri saying, you need to expect, Pepper says you have to expect, or was that Mary Jane? No, Mary Jane says you have to expect some attention, and Riri's like, I just want to do what's right, and then you're talking about, I don't know, Ironheart's been all over the news, even, I guess one of the channels had on an expert to talk about Riri Williams. She says, this one guy with green hair was on the news talking about me like we were best friends, and I never met the guy. It was fascinating. So who's the guy with the green hair, Charlie?
I have no idea. Who has green hair?
Doc Samson!
Wait, what? Oh, that's right. He's alive again.
I guess, yeah. Yeah.
That's right. We saw that in the first issue. They said, by the way, everyone remember, Doc Samson's still alive, which is just Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, assuming it's the real Doc Samson, but because they only show him in one panel. But yeah, Doc Samson, superhero psychiatrist, he's on some late night show.
But I'm telling you, man, Franklin, because the whole thing with Kobik right now, that's all Franklin's fault.
Mm-hmm.
That Cosmic Cube couldn't have done that prior to Franklin.
Oh no.
Because not for nothing, this Skull has had lots of cosmic cubes. He's never been able to do something like that until Franklin completely upended the universe.
Maybe that's why we're getting such the uprise in teenage girl geniuses. Because Franklin's like, we need more kids with dangerous superpowers.
Yeah, well, he likes that. That's his demographic. That's why he's kept...
he grew up hanging out with Power Pack. Hey.
Yeah, and not to mention his favorite superhero is Spider-Man, teenage superhero boy.
Uh-huh.
And his Uncle Johnny.
Oh, so maybe it's Franklin replacing all the heroes with like younger counterparts. Maybe that's what Generations is all about.
Maybe.
Oh.
Gonna have to see.
All right, so then
you heard it here first, kids.
That's right. Remember that. So Tony's mom's telling Riri, we wanted to talk to you about this laboratory, and Riri says, what about it? And Tony's mom says, would you feel more comfortable using this laboratory as your base of operations? And Riri's like, this one? The one we're standing in? She's like, yes. And Riri's like, just like totally freaked out. She's like, this is holy space. And Tony's mom is like, I see how you would think of it like that. But she's like, all this stuff we have is like just lying around here. And then we have you. And Riri's like, but Pepper Potts is rescue. And Pepper's like, I'm already busy with a handful of large projects that I've dedicated years of my life to. I made promises and commitments. I'll never back down from the armor when I have to, but I don't need to do all that. Not like you.
Of course, technically, she doesn't have to either,
Mm-hmm.
That is one thing anyone could actually say to anyone. It's like, really, none of us have to be superheroes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
We could actually license the armor to trained professionals. I'm sure Steve Rogers knows some people that could use some good armor and... Oh, wait.
Yeah. Then we go to Paris. Some mysterious shadowy figure. It could be Wilson Fisk, but like I said, it's completely in shadow. You can't tell who it is. Is talking about wanting to buy up the country of Latveria.
Yeah, I guess Doom's not using it. Probably for sale.
Yeah, okay, whoever it is like saying, whoever owns it, find out, and says the place is in total disarray. I'm saying if you go in there, turn on the lights, open the schools, and feed these people, they'll give it to you. And then...
Well, that's actually really true,
Then why Latveria? And I'm guessing it's the shadowy figure says it has a special place in our hearts.
So it's a big guy?
Well, that's what it looks like, but then there's a reveal towards the end of this, which is nowhere near Wilson Fisk, so... I don't know if that's the figure. We'll get to that. But back in Chicago, I
wonder if that was that Omni droid that there was that one of Doom's artificial intelligences that sort of gained sentience and then ran amok.
Well,
he went off to the negative zone and gained cosmic powers for a while, and
yeah. Well, like I said, there's another reveal. So unless there's two people going for it, because who they reveal it is looks nothing like the shadow, like the shadow figure. But anyway. Back in Chicago.
Unless you know who that could be? Zabo.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Hunt. Because he does that size differential.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's high, he's that big guy, and then he gets back to the little guy. So.
And he said, yeah, talking in plural. It sounded like. All right, but anyway, in Chicago, the Tony AI is still bugging Riri about have you thought about the offer? And they're offering you the keys to the kingdom. And Riri's like, I'll think about it. And Tony's like, what, you don't think you deserve it? And she's like, don't psychoanalyze me. She's like, I hate when real people try to do that. And Tony's like, well, I'm not a real person.
Not for nothing. Isn't she a minor? And isn't this 600, actually 800 miles away from where her family is?
I guess they think she could fly there. I don't know I don't know. They really haven't gone into details.
I mean, is she supposed to be 18 or is she supposed to be 16?
Yeah, I don't think she's 18. I mean, she was in college, but I think she was a child prodigy.
Yeah. I thought she was supposed to be a 16-year-old savant got into MIT.
Yeah. But, so she says she's trying to figure out how the Techno Golem did her thing, and Tony's telling her, she's an inhuman. She's working with energy fields no one on Earth has discovered yet. She has to be manipulating these mysterious energy fields to do what she does. So her and the Tony AI are talking all that, and then, and Riri's saying something about unless she's creating the energy fields herself too, and, And Tony says, yeah, she is creating the energy fields herself, and that is the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I know scary. I've seen the Hulk naked. And yeah, Riri says, why have you seen the Hulk naked? He says, sometimes the purple pants stretch with him, and sometimes they don't. Bendis.
Bendis for you.
So much anatomy in this issue, Bendis. But then Tony AI tells her there's someone from MIT talking to your mother in the driveway, and he says they know you are Ironheart, and Riri's like, oh, probably because I used material from the school, and she's like, I meant to write them an apology letter. He says maybe send them an edible bouquet. And she says, what do they want? He says to declare proprietary ownership of the armor copyright. And she's like, no. And he says, you built it on school property, was on school material. And he says, a good and arguable point in court. So then they show the lady from MIT talking to Riri and her mother. She says, we know you built the first armor out of boredom. We'd like you to come back with the full resources of our robotics laboratory. And we'd like you to continue your work on campus. Mm-hmm. I can offer you substantial backing, certainly far more in your garage. Also, I think you should respect that we have respected your privacy and not gone public that MIT was the original home of the new Iron Woman. She's like, Ironheart.
Should have gone with Iron Woman, quite frankly.
MIT wants to work with her, and they'll keep her secret. But the MIT woman says, and her mom was like, "Why?" And the woman's like, "Her daughter's building the future. We would like her to do it with us. That's why we first accepted her at the institution. It's up to you." And then back in Latveria, helicopters coming in, and I don't know if it's like I said, I don't think it's the same mysterious figure, but I'm guessing there's someone else trying to lay claim to Latveria. A woman, Charlie, Lucia von Bardis.
Oh, wasn't she the former prime minister?
Yeah, I think wasn't she in that
Maria
secret...
Hill got taken out of, or actually no, Nick Fury got taken out of power.
Yeah, wasn't that Secret War miniseries from like a decade ago?
That's the one.
Yeah. So she shows up, but then they go back to Chicago, and Riri's flying around in the armor, and Tony's like, "Have you made up your mind yet?" And Riri's telling him to be quiet. He says, "Why why have these generous offers on a promising future physically upset you? I think it seems like you're having an anxiety attack." And she's like, just find me something to do. So he points her to downtown Philadelphia, where she puts down Armadillo.
Poor Armadillo. He just keeps on getting jobbed.
Mm-hmm. And then after she puts him down, Riri hears a voice. Wow, nicely done. How'd you get here before us? And Charlie, it's the champions.
Yay, champions.
Yeah, Nova says, we've been looking all over for you. And Miles says, yeah, we've been looking for you since this Civil War. And she says, you have. And Miss Marvel says, if it's not too far, we would like you to join us. She says, you want me to be an Avenger? And they're like, yeah, that would be cool, but we're the champions. I think it's Amadeus says that. And then you just see the Tony Stark AI saying, hey, when it rains, it pours. And that's the end of the issue.
Yay! Okay, so that was fun.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It sounds good. I like the legal challenge from MIT. It's very realistic, But you know how I was thinking. You know who the big person could have been?
Who?
I didn't see the image, so I don't know. Maybe it's Sharon Ventura. She-Thing. Maybe she's working with Von Bardis.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. It's just like a figure sitting at a table, but I don't know, just like the shape of the head.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to tell, but just from like the way the shadow was like shaped, they look like Fisk and like that, with his head and the shoulders and stuff.
Yeah, so it could be Fisk, or could it be Obadiah Stane? Was he a bigger guy?
I don't think he was too big, but I think he's still dead.
Well,
he
got fat in the
like
movie,
his son
so they might.
Yeah. But they brought.
Oh
I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah. His son
He
Ezekiel's staying. He's skinny.
yeah, because the son's been running around. I mean, of course they could always bring him back, especially after Secret Wars. But he blew his own head off with a repulsor.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's go on to Doctor Strange number 19. When last we left our intrepid heroes, Wong had been possessed by Mr. Misery. And then years ago in the mountains of Tibet, you see young Stephen Strange complaining about the fact that he's hungry. He just climbed up a mountain with 2 broken hands, and they're feeding him garbage that smells like hot garbage that was boiled in other hotter garbage. He throws it on the floor, and Wong comes out, and he says, "My name is Wong, firstborn son of Hamir, the hermit from Kamartaj. You must be Doctor Strange. A pleasure to meet you." He says, "You're the cook here?" He says, "Among other things, I serve the Ancient One, as my family has for generations." And basically, Wong tells him, "You will eat, and you will eat it, and you will like it." And that's that. Meanwhile, back in the Brownstone, Mr. Misery, who is possessed, has possessed Wong. Doctor Strange says he will exorcise him. Mr. Misery says, I'm not from another dimension. Your magics won't work on me. And he says, this great, now, as you may recall, that he gave Zelma a revolver or a Luger and told her that if his eyes go all gooey, to shoot him in the head. And let me see here. Yeah. Oh, and Mr. Misery says that he probed Wong's mind to. Oh, there's a neat thing. He says, you know Wong so well, your best friend. Tell me, what does he eat for breakfast? He's eaten it every day of his life since he was 5 years old. It is his favorite food, And of course, Doctor Strange doesn't answer. Mr. Misery says, I looked for the words in Wong's mind that would hurt you the most, and I found them. They are, I love you. Wong loves you like a father loves his son. He's devoted his entire life to you. He has no wife, no family, no life beyond the sanctum. When he dies, his family line dies with him. Yet still he loves you with all his being, and you can't return the favor, can you? Doctor Strange realizes that the way to draw out Mr. Misery is with pain, so he takes a red-hot poker from somewhere and just starts driving it into his own flesh to cause himself pain, which draws Mr. Misery out to him because it wants his pain. Once they've gotten Wong free, Zelma comes in. They break Wong out. Do a little flashback to when Wong and Steven first moved to the Brownstone, and Steven starts planting trees in his living room because he makes the point, that this is going to be a super secret sorcery hideout. He wants it to be really cool. And then we see how the trees have grown into crazy man things. They run through because they're trying to get away from Mr. Misery. They wander into, they run past the cave. Someone says we should cut through the cave. It's fast. He says, no, with Wong gone, no one's fed the bats for days. Take the haunted elevator. They run through the bathroom. She says, what did he do to your bathroom? He says, nothing. It's always like this. They wind up in the kitchen. And then Mr. Misery knocks Doctor Strange out. Zelma is like, I don't know what to do. And then she realizes that there's something in the fridge. So she murders the fridge. That releases a beast that seems to do something. And then, when Doctor Strange and Wong come to, he basically says, I know how to hurt. He says, I know how to get it. And he starts shouting at Wong that he does not love you. He does not love anyone. It can't be about care about people because he's the Sorcerer Supreme. because they're just things to me. They have to be sacks of meat with souls inside. Love is for children and poets and fools. And of course, it hurts him so much to say that draws Mr. Misery to him. Once he has Mr. Misery inside of him, he can deal with it, And then we see him basically throwing up little bits of Mr. Misery. We see him in the bathroom. We see like the black ooze just sort of coming out of his face as he tries to keep himself together. Says, never stop hurting, never stop hurting, never stop. Then he gets everyone breakfast, and he got pizza bagels with a side of breakfast tacos for Zelma, and for Wong, raisins and oatmeal. And Zelma says, I thought your favorite food was, he goes, hush. And, he says he never felt better, but he keeps on vomiting up more of the thing. And then we see deep in the basement, a little last bit of misery said, misery loves you too, doctor, as it devours a rat. Bum, bum, bum. Next week, say goodbye. Or next issue, Jason Aaron and Chris Bacalo say goodbye. So I don't know if it's going to keep on going with a new art and writing team, or if that was the end of it. I don't know. I hope not. I really like Doctor Strange. But, yeah, they say they have to go to the dark dimension to get a new refrigerator. So we'll see how that all plays out next week. Big thumbs up for Doctor Strange. It was a good book. It was very nice to see, what I liked about it, because I always had this theory about Wong, that the reason the Sorcerer Supreme should have a Wong is because it's very important that the Sorcerer Supreme have a human with him. Mm-hmm. That he have someone who... Because, you can be, as the Sorcerer Supreme, and you can be, like Doctor Strange says, that, everyone is just things, just sacks of meat with souls. But if you have someone there, someone you know and can care about, then perhaps you understand that it's not just about monsters and demons, it's about saving lives. So,
like Doctor Who?
That's why I had a particular love for that. And the fact that it kind of gets a shout out. That's always been sort of my theory on Doctor Strange there.
Mm-hmm. Like Doctor Who?
Well, no. Doctor Who's companions, I think... What I think is that Doctor Who brings companions with him for that reason. I think the ancient ones and the Sorcerer Supremes has a Wong assigned to them because it's just important that they have that. I think it serves the same purpose. But that's sort of my take on the Wong.
Okay, you're not Wong. Okay. All right, then I guess I'll try to match you again. Since you went Magical Doctor Strange, I guess I'll do Deadpool. Deadpool 29, the last part of Till Death Do Us.
Oh boy.
I don't know what happened in the last part, Mercs for Money, but it seems Dracula and Chikla have decided to
hook up,
unite their forces. Well, they're getting married in the beginning. They're getting married by Mephisto.
Oh, he does love a wedding.
Yeah, well, and he seems to be stumbling over the whole thing, and Dracula's telling him to get on with it, and Mephisto says, all right, hang on, I don't usually do these things, just undo them. He's like, then they showed, like, Deadpool was, like, staked to, like, a wall rubble. Spider-Man's been webbed up by some giant green spider monster thing. And then Mephisto finishes and he says, this is one wedding I can get behind. And Deadpool tries to say something through the gag in his mouth. And Spider-Man says, what's that supposed to mean? I don't get it. So Mephisto disappears. And Chikla and Dracula are talking about sending their... Well, I think Dracula's talking about sending these... vampires down to the monster metropolis to restore order. That's where Frankenstein and everyone else is. And then who shows up? I see you're letting rulers win by engaging in class warfare against one another. The ruling vampire class is once again being used as frightful bullies for the betterment of your cruel monarchs. There might be a better way to live your undead lives. And who is it, Charlie? You'll never guess.
I'm guessing
Well,
Karl Marx is a ghost, or is it? Oh no, is it Ben Franklin ghost?
it's Ben Franklin. Yes.
Ah, yes, Ben Franklin ghost back.
Uh, uh, yeah. This country,
He hung out
but
with Doctor Strange for a while, you know.
yeah. Oh yeah, and he was in an earlier arc of Deadpool. So, the country above you was founded on the principle of rejecting monarchical rule. It's a republic dedicated to self-governance, and the Constitution we drafted states that human rights belong to every man, woman, and child without precondition. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness can be yours too if you fight for them. And one of the vampires says, "Hey, when did Bernie Sanders die?"
But bum.
And he says he believes in unalienable human rights for all, even non-humans. And he says, "I'm saying together, you can kick both Dracula and Chikola's, well, butt, but he didn't say butt." And he said, "What do you say? Surely we hang together, or we shall all hang separately." And one of the demons says, "George Washington is right." And
Getting warmer.
Ben Franklin says, "I'm Ben Franklin. Hundos are named after me." Then up above, Spider-Man breaks free, frees Deadpool. Spider-Man's attacking the giant green spider. Then he rips Deadpool off the wall. Which he was staked to, and Deadpool's like, "Ah!" He's like, "Watcher's hairless orbs, that hurt."
Oh my.
And Deadpool says he has to get down to the Monster Metropolis, and Spider-Man's saying, "Really?" He says, "You know what may be a good idea? I go get Dazzler, Hear me out. I think her powers could." And Deadpool's like, "Quit embarrassing me in front of all these monsters." If you can keep him this... He says, "We'll be fighting vampires forever unless we can stop Dracula. You keep him distracted. I can handle Shikla. I know just how to stop her."
Obviously Dazzler would actually be a good person to have against vampires.
And so, of course, Shikla and Dracula are trying to get everyone in Monster Metropolis to bow to them, and that's when Spider-Man swings in and kicks Dracula from behind. Spider-Man says,
"That's
sounds like
dirty pool, Parker."
Sounds like the non-human people have spoken, and you are not the founding father. He says, "I was raised to believe I could be anything, and now today I've become a man that got to sucker kick Dracula. It's an amazing time to be alive." And then Deadpool's asking Shikla, "Why did you marry Dracula?" Shikla's saying, "I thought the masses adored me, but they want me run off." And Deadpool says, "At least it's for pretty much real reasons and not your emails."
We'll get a little political there.
Yeah, Shikla and Deadpool, she puts him through a wall. Then the Mercs for Money show up to get into the fight. And Dracula's like, "I'll suck you all dry." And Spider-Man says, "I don't know if that's the intimidating battle cry you think it is." And then Spider-Man goes and finds Deadpool, who looks like he's in the middle of hooking up with Shikla. And Spider-Man says, "Don't you have any self-respect?" And Deadpool says, "Which one of us are you talking to?" And Shikla says, like, "Why don't you stay? You may learn a thing or two." And Spider-Man's like, "La la la, not listening." And then Shikla's asking Deadpool why he burdens himself with the humans in his life. And he says, "They're not always burdens. I admit, killing people is way easier than living with them. And I've always been a masochist. You don't set out to love someone. It just happens one day at a time until eventually you wake up and can't think of a good reason to kill them. You just have to keep going to see what you'll find." Shikla kisses Deadpool, and knocks him out. I don't know if it's supposed to kill him because he looks all messed up on the ground. He's gonna regenerate or whatever.
He always does.
And then outside, Dracula is saying, "I hope you're all ready for a red wedding. That's right. In my time away while convalescing, I caught up on all my programs." And Shikla says she has to talk to Dracula. And "I love these people, but if they don't want me, I have better things to do. Perhaps they will succeed without us. Perhaps they will not. I will not force my will on my subjects. I will let them go and wait to see what happens." And then Dracula's saying, yes, some of their number have harnessed the power of the sun and could end us with little effort. I have always worried they would just send Dazzler to explode me in my sleep. Unfortunately, the humans are profoundly stupid.
This is true.
And then they show Shikla and Dracula decide to leave. They just basically disappear in a puff of smoke, and Frankenstein says, we did it, they retreated. And Spider-Man says, yeah? But is anyone really worried that they kind of got bored of beating us up and just left? And Deadpool shows up. He says, what did I miss? And Spider-Man says, I don't know, but it's not going to be my problem. Short answer / good news, you're single. And then one of the vampires says, who will lead us? And someone says, we'll lead ourselves when fair and secure elections can be held. Until then, I nominate the Invisible Man to act as executive. And one of the vampires says, it is agreed. And someone says, didn't the Invisible Man skip town as soon as the invasion began? And the other one says, shh, nobody will notice. And then Ben Franklin's trying to hit on Domino. He says, well, hello there. I understand your power is to get lucky. That's my superpower, too.
Oh, Ben.
And then Domino says, I'd rather kiss a man thing. And Ben Franklin says, is that a yes? Or she goes, that's a no. And then an executive from Parker Industries shows up. Who's serving Deadpool with papers because he's the legal husband, I guess, of Shikla. I guess a bill for all the damages, and then a guy from the city of New York shows up with a bill. Then a demon from the Monster Metropolis shows up with a letter from Shikla. He's basically saying she came to love both him and her people. I'd rather you all thrive in my absence than suffer for my company. I leave you and my people behind to go find myself. I slept the 19th and 20th centuries away. Our present is in shambles. Who knows what the future holds? I think I shall go and experience this 21st century. It looks like her and Dracula are taking a cruise or something.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I don't know who. It's supposed to be another guy with more papers shows up to serve Deadpool. He knocks him out. And the end of the letter says, I'll have some fun with Dracula, but keep your phone on. You'll never know when booty calls. Until then, be good to yourself. And the issue ends with Deadpool saying, nice to finally have a relationship end without a corpse. Always exciting to find a new way to bleep up. That ends.
Aww.
It was pretty good. I mean, I don't know if we needed 6 issues, but it was good. This one was a thumbs up.
Okay, it sounded nice. Okay, now let's get into the most controversial books from Marvel this week. Secret Empire opening salvo, starting in Thunderbolts number 12. I'm actually really upset I didn't get the other opening salvo book, which was U.S. Avengers, but too many books, Marvel. Mm-hmm. Too many books. Okay. Remember at the end of last episode, Kobik was not happy that Bucky refused to accept her offer to remake his reality as a Hydra agent. Mm-hmm. And which I thought was interesting. And there's some interesting aspects of all of this. Especially with the stuff we're going to see here, because theoretically Bucky died last issue. Mm-hmm. But didn't die, which again makes this statement that this past that everyone acknowledges is saying, well, yeah, that is the real past. It's a real past. But, it's something I've always made a comment on, especially, you would have Hercules would make mention of this sometimes, which was this idea of that in the same way you can have alternate futures, you can have alternate pasts that lead to the same place. That, this happened and then this other, as Baron Munchausen would say, and then sadly I died. But I got better, and
well, I mean, back in the day, they always said, I mean, I think it's changed now, but back in the day, they said anytime anyone tried to alter the past, they just created it like an alternate timeline.
Well, yeah, but the idea that those alternate timelines could reconverge is this idea that you could have this alternate timeline, but if everything winds up the same. So, for example, the essential premise of this story is that when you think about it, is that Captain America did everything the same, but at this point, when he awakened, at this point he's Hydra, but he still does all the same actions. So theoretically, what is to keep these two universes from coming back together? Because at some point they will have the same, essentially the same quantum signatures. Because if all the movements remain the same and all the actions remain the same, they get close enough together that they can remerge. And maybe that's essentially what Kobik did, is that other past exists as well. Although, as we know from the X-Men, that the past from when they came isn't there anymore. Although this was actually an interesting point I made. The Tony and the Cap, I made this online earlier today when I was fighting with people about this, about these books. The Cap in this universe isn't Cap. Because that Cap died at the end of the last universe. That Cap and that Tony both died. That's why we never got a resolution to the Superior Iron Man arc. And for what it's worth, this is the third time they've taken a major Marvel hero and turned him into a villain. To the point where you start to wonder, have people just not been noticing this is an ongoing shtick with them? Really, it's the fourth time if you count Bucky turning him into the Winter Soldier. So it starts with Bucky and the Winter Soldier, then you get Superior Spider-Man, then you get Superior Iron Man, which is basically the exact same thing, again caused by the Red Skull, with the Red Skull changing Tony, but having him stay the same. Anyway,
I know. Now you bring that up, shouldn't someone have some scenario in place where we routinely check people to make sure they haven't been altered in some way?
Well, Reed Richards did, but he ain't around no more.
But forget a registration act. Everyone should have to go in every 3 months, 6 months, and get checked by telepath.
I'm going to actually tell you that here's the truth of it. They actually do have that in S.H.I.E.L.D. Everyone has to go to that, but they keep on hiring Dr. Faustus as their psychiatrist. Why they keep hiring Dr. Faustus, no one knows. But it's every time that I went in for my weekly check to see if I have my mind controlled, and I'm fine. And then they turn on the light, and it's, he turns off the image reducer, and it's Faustus. Oh, Faustus. Anyway, so we're opening up in Thunderbolts with Jolt and Atlas. Atlas is sort of going into a coma. Jolt basically uses electricity powers to zap him back into operation. They get up because there's apparently a blizzard in Antarctica. That's weird because they don't actually have blizzards in Antarctica. It's actually a desert. But
but is that with Kobik thrown all around all that energy?
Yeah. So it's a Kobik related blizzard, but and we get to see some interesting things. We get to see Kobik as kind of a little baby eternity with all these universes inside of her. Not dissimilar from Singularity. Remember her from the A-Force? Mm-hmm. And Secret Wars. Wonder if that's going to come back at some point. We got Zemo and his Masters of Evil. We see Bucky fall back into the universe. Zemo tries to cut him with his sword, and Bucky's like, dude, I got a metal arm. Did you not notice that? We see the Wrecking Crew, ganging up on Mach 10 and Songbird. We see the villains not being very helpful to each other. Whiplash, I don't even know who that lady is, but basically kicking her off of him to throw her into the singularity that is Kobik, and she gets kind of shredded. Atlas realizes he's got to stop it, so he grows big to sort of talk her down. He says, I hate everyone, just go away, as children will say. We see that the Wrecker is about to kill Songbird when who should show up?
Oh,
the Ghost.
Yeah.
Our hero, the Ghost. We see basically Bucky kicks Zemo around because Zemo is not particularly good at fighting. Zemo's just not good at his job. Let's all just agree to that. He'd be lost without Steve Rogers. We see that, Moonstone walks up and, says, "Nice one, may I have the honors of finishing him?" And Bucky says, "I know you hate Zemo, but don't kill him." And then Moonstone says, "I wasn't talking to you, Barnes." Wah, wah.
Never turn your back on Moonstone.
Yeah. No, of course not. She's like super evil. And then we see Fixer trying to do the calculations on the fly to disrupt Kobik, and we see that she gets converted back to her cube form and exploded, and her 6 pieces get scattered around. 6 pieces. What else also comes in 6 pieces? Oh yes, the Infinity Stones.
Ooh.
Well, also cubes have 6 sides. 6 sides. No, actually they have 8 sides. 1, 2. No, they have 6 sides. Yes. I forgot how many sides are on a die. Okay, and then basically they say, well, clearly everyone's dead, except for our guys, so no need to even look for them. Well, they got Barnes out. But Songbird comes out, and she starts to wander off, and then out comes Ghost, and he picks up a little tiny Jolt because she's lost all her energy, puts him in his satchel, and heads on off. And there's our little farewell message from Jim Zub. It says, "Make his Moonstone." I really love this book. This is a really great book. I love what he's done with it. I love what he's done with Kobik.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. They're talking about, Kobik being, that will track her down, but we also see in that scene, where is it? We see Kobik's doll just sort of lying there, centrally located. Makes you wonder if that's important. Is Kobik's doll going to be the source of Kobik's power? I don't know, but good book. Big thumbs up.
Yeah, oh yeah, huge thumbs up. But did you notice who the one person they all think's dead we didn't see a body for?
Who was that?
Abe, Mach 10. I don't think we saw a body. Everyone just said, "Oh, he's dead."
Oh, well, beetles are never more dangerous than when they're dead. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they said that. Yeah, they said both Abe and
Songbird.
And Songbird was both dead, but yeah. But Abe. Interesting.
Yep.
Oh, and you know who Abe's good friends with?
Who?
Maria Hill.
Oh.
So if anyone's got a transponder that's going to go straight to her, it's going to be him.
All right. Before we get to the next part, let's lighten it up a little bit with Star-Lord number 6.
Good old Star-Lord.
It opens up with Peter Quill having, I guess, a nightmare about being chased down by a cowboy, and he's about to get shot in the head, but then he wakes up. There's like a page of him from, I guess, remembering the events that happened after last issue where the old man Edmund died, and he's getting ready for the funeral. And they show Peter at the funeral talking to Edmund's son, Greg, and he meets Edmund's ex-wife, and I guess her new husband. And that's when everyone's walking off, a guy comes up and gives Peter a card, and I guess it's a note for him to go meet. Remember the old lady, supervillain Javelin?
Yes, I remember.
I guess it was a note that come to her apartment, so she answers the door in her robe, and she's saying, he's like, "It seems weird that you invited me here, considering I just robbed you." And she says, "I know from this business nothing is simple." And she says, "I'm aware of the position you were placed in. You wanted to save Gregory, and robbing me was the only way to do it. But I'm also aware you sent James to protect me, something you did not have to do to accomplish your goal." And he's like, "Sorry, James?" She's like, "Mr. Logan." He's like, "James?" She's like, "Because of my line of work, I'm unused to people considering my well-being. That was a kindness I will not soon forget." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "I was robbing you. You don't." She's like, "Relax." she's like, heard about your trouble was with the law and the fine you've incurred. I'd like to pay it for you. And he's like, wait, are you trying to seduce me? He's like, I mean, that's completely cool. I've been a little lonely, and this does fit at least 3 of my sexy bucket list scenarios. And she's like, oh, haha, you are something, Peter Quill. She says, I'm afraid you're far too young for me. Then a voice says, yeah, kid, you just learned how to grow a beard. And who's walking down the steps who must have spent the night, Charlie?
Jimmy Howlett.
Yep.
James.
Yep. Old man Logan. And Peter says, he's like, God, you're such a dog. And Logan says, a Wolverine, bub, and we're all adults here. Ain't no one being a dog with your slut-shaming labels. And he's asking Javelin if she has any milk. And Peter says, milk? He's like, and I'm a kid? Logan says, good for the bones. He's like, your bones are covered in metal and you heal instantly.
Not for nothing. It's nice to see Logan dating someone at least relatively his own age.
Yes.
At least his own physical age,
Yes. But yeah, Peter's all upset, and Logan says, look, just because I spent the night at Lynn's doesn't mean your mother and I still don't love you very much. And Peter's like, haha. And Logan says, yeah, you got what you came for. Your ticket out of here. Now, why don't you run off, kid, and go endanger some other seniors? And that's when Peter throws a punch at Logan, saying, bleep you, punches him right in the nose, and he goes, gah, metal skull!
Yeah.
That's when he tries to kick him he says, I bet you don't have steel-lined solar plexus, you Clint Eastwood mother. So fight. That's when, after they fight some, Logan kind of grabs him in a bear hug, and Peter's like, you're not letting go. He's like, you provoked me because you thought I needed the release to fight someone other than myself. And Logan's like, yeah, you lost something, but that don't make the feeling any less real. Winning, only losing, blah, 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 blah. So Logan's still kind of hugging him, and Peter says, your robe is open, isn't it? And Logan's like, yeah. Then the part that doesn't make sense. Edmund's son Gregory's at home. He gets a visitor, Matt Murdock, who brings him a box. He says, you weren't at the reading of the will. So Matt leaves him in this box, and it's the gloves and the boots, all the flying stuff that Matt thought was too dangerous for Edmund to keep, but he gives it to his son. Once again, leaving all... Wasn't this stuff like gravitational, he could stop your position relative to the rotation of the earth, and you're just going to leave this with someone you don't know? I thought Matt Murdock was like the guy who was like, this can't fall in the wrong hands. Anyway, and then Shocker and who's at 8-Ball are outside the bar with no name. I guess it's closed down now, but Javelin shows up. She said she wants to start her own bar with no name. So they all wander off. Just Matt Murdock leaving that power, and he was the one who was like, trying to take his boot and gloves away from everybody. And now it's just like, here you go. Yeah, I know.
I guess he's hoping he'll use them for good and not evil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what he's basing it off of, nobody knows.
Hypersenses, yeah. Oh, this is like the best part. I guess at another bar, or like a chain thing, a bartender serving Rocket. He's like, look, you tried half of our specialty cocktails and hated each one. Perhaps the drink menu of Flapperdoodles isn't for you. Also, please leave. You are clearly an animal here on your own. And Rocket says, look, I told you, my owner is in the can. I'm a service raccoon for his anxiety, and you legally can't kick me out. So let's switch to beer. Peter walks in. He must have heard this. He goes, oh, thank God, you're still here. My anxiety. And Rocket's like, oh, hey, my owner. And Peter's like, what are you literally still doing here on Earth? And Rocket says, it had a bright sign. You think I come to a planet and instantly know where all the dive bars are at? He's like, I thought this was associated with the Flapperdoodles on Karama 6. They should sue. Basically, he's telling him, yeah, Quill, you bleeped up. And Peter's saying, I'm sorry. but your family, all the Guardians are my family. That's in short supply for all of us. I should have trusted you guys. Told you that Thanos was on Earth. I don't want to lose you. And Rocket's like, yeah, you waltz around like you're our leader, leave us to be king, and then act like you're our leader again, carrying the burden of secrets. Bull, that's macho bull. And Peter's like, yeah, I know I messed up. I seen what life is like without you guys. And Rocket's like, you can pay my tab. I'm out of here. And Peter's like, what can I do? And Rocket says, it's just time, Pete. Sometimes it's your friend, not the enemy. Then Abigail Brand shows up and signals the Rocket that she's watching. She gives Peter her... I guess she's giving Peter's gun back, and he says, also couldn't help but notice that nobody confiscated the murderous space raccoon's guns. And Brand says, you ever try to take garbage away from a raccoon, let alone his guns? And she takes Peter up to Alpha Flight Station. She's saying, you may have been born, kind of like you were born on Earth, but it's not your home. Your home moving. Your home is something that moves. Talking about a ship. She's like, take your guns, get a ship, go to your friends, and get the bleep off my planet. And the fate of the Guardians revealed in Guardians of the Galaxy 19. And I guess, I don't know if this is the last regular issue of this series, but it says there's a Star-Lord annual coming up. Peter fights for his life in the town the universe forgot. Because it looks like a Western, kind of like the nightmare he was having in the beginning.
Bum, bum, bum.
But no, this issue in this series was good. It's a thumbs up.
Very cool. Okay. I think that's going to bring me to my pick of the week. Which is Steve Rogers' Captain America number 16. And why this one is my pick of the week over Secret Empire. I like that we get a lot more backstory in this.
Yes.
We open up with Helmet in jail, the Red Skull triumphant, and the Allies building their own cosmic cube. And says, you asked me what I'm thinking, Elsa, and I'm thinking this is the end. Says, I see. How dreadful. Well, perhaps you're right, darling, but then you know what they say. When you think you've reached the end, it helps go back to where it all began. We cut back to Maria Hill, basically having worst week ever. She decides to track down whatever it was that Taskmaster and Black Ant were going to sell her. And she finds it because people just leave these files laying around. Captain America saying, "Hail Hydra," and she says it can't be. It has to be a fake. But of course, then three Hydra agents, all about branding, like I said, smash through the door. We then cut back to Zemo, all mad because he lost his cosmic cube. He is such a petulant child. He'd be nothing without Steve Rogers. Let's be honest here. We get Selvig and Fixer trying to track down Kobik. And we get the first implications here, which is that, Selvig is like, maybe we should just let, they have all but one of the shards. Maybe we should just let Kobik reform herself. She'll pull herself together eventually. And Zemo's like, I don't want some sentient cosmic cube. I just want the power. Yeah, that's going to end well, you idiot. And meanwhile, back into the place of idiocy, he has recreated the lab and tied Bucky to a plane. Because, oh, come on, not again, as Bucky says. Meanwhile, we find out that Steve Rogers, he's back at his house, and he says, I know you killed my mother. I took a long time to accept it. And Elsa's like, what? No, I didn't kill your mom. She's right here. All your dreams come true, Steve Rogers. Meanwhile, we see Maria Hill basically holding her own against these three Hydra agents because Hydra just does not train well. Maria Hill calls out to the one person she knows she can still communicate with. And of course it is Rick Jones. God help us all. Meanwhile, Atlas and Moonstone find the last shard. We see Selvig really feeling sad about all this because he loves Kobik. He says, she's doomed then, my little girl. Then he tases Fixer. Meanwhile, Zemo plays a hologram for Bucky of Cap basically explaining that, it's all been a lie. I'm really Hydra, blah, blah, blah. And, and Bucky's saying, that's not Steve. It's not true. It's not true. And again, Zemo says, poor Bucky, you still don't understand. Do you? Facts, reality. These things are simply what we make them. I have decided what I believe, and if the story Steven tells is a lie, then I will make it true. Goodbye, pretender. As Bucky flies off. Back in 1945, Steve had a great night, reminiscing with his mom. And then Elisa is telling him about this horrible weapon the Allies invented called a cosmic cube. Goodness. And it could make it so the Allies won the war, not the Nazis. Wouldn't that be awful? But that's okay. You have to go back to where Hydra began. Then we cut back to the present. We see Hydra or Cap meeting his Council of Hydra, including Hive, Kraken, Gorgon, Faustus, Zola, and Madam Hydra. We see that on the SHIELD helicarrier Crescent, Faustus is hypnotizing everybody. Meanwhile, Maria Hill's still running. She gets through to Rick Jones. She tries to tell him that Cap is Hydra, and does she upload the thing to him? I'm trying to see here. Well, they don't make it clear what she does. But you see Cap basically telling Rick, don't listen to her. I'm Cap. You know me. I'm awesome. Mm-hmm. And then the Black Ant comes and knocks him out. Bum, bum, bum. Because, they don't trust him. Although, man, I tell you, man, I'm just looking at who's going to betray who next, man. Because that's the problem with Cap's entire plan. Anyway, we see Cap has got his army around him. We see that Selvig blows his brain up with a laser beam because he's trying to make it so that Kobik has a chance to reform herself. We see Bucky blow up. And then we see the start of the war. Bum, bum, bum. Hail Hydra. Okay, yeah, it was my pick of the week. Actually, I thought that one scene was in here that's actually in Secret Empire, but that's okay. This is still my pick of the week. I really loved getting this backstory. And, here's what I'm going to say about Cap. What I think the crux of it is, at the end of the day, is that Steve Rogers is still Steve Rogers. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people compare it to Red Sun, and the whole point of Red Sun, is that even raised in a totalitarian, authoritarian regime, Superman was still Superman. He still cared about people. He still cared about what he was doing. And I really feel that is the takeaway from this, that even though Steve Rogers, yes, he's a fascist, yes, he's allied with villains, he actually wants to do well for people. He wants to make the world a better place. I think that's why he murdered that guy in Sam Wilson, Captain America, He murdered the guy who, yes, he liked the fact that he wanted to have this superpowered police force, but he did not like the fact that this guy was harassing people and treating people without dignity. Because at the end of the day, the point of Hydra is about restoring human dignity. At least in the stories that Red Skull told to Kobik. And that's who made this reality. So yeah, but big thumbs up for Captain America. Steve Rogers, Captain America, number 16, my pick of the week.
Yes, great issue. All right, and I guess I will go to Moon Knight number 13.
How's Moon Knight doing?
Well, it opens up. Mark Spector is about to go back to the asylum to confront Khonshu or whoever, and Crowley's telling him, don't go or take me with you. He says, no, I already lost Frenchie. I can't lose you. And Anubis is warning him. He's like, I have seen many things down here below the world, and I have seen others coming and going, others that wish you harm. Perhaps you should heed Crowley's warning. It is not too late to leave this place. And Mark says he only has one path now, and he's saying, tell Crowley, don't call me Mark, call me Mr. Knight. And then it looks like Mark's going through some passages, and Khonshu starts talking to him. He says, hello, my pet, my son. You're returning to me. I knew you would. It was only a matter of time. So close now. He's like, do you see it? Do you know what this place is? Just a little further, and the truth and the true shape of this place will become clear. It is time you saw where you really are. And it looks like he's standing on a brain, which I'm assuming is his brain. He says, your mind was always weak. It was only a matter of time until that weakness consumed you altogether. And it looks like he's like being absorbed by the brain. Then flashback some years ago. It's the classic scene that everyone who knows Moon Knight's origins familiar with, when Bushman is and Mark and Frenchie, they go to the archaeological dig where Marlene and her father is, and Bushman wants, all the artifacts and stuff, and they're not backing down, so Bushman kills Marlene's father, and Mark jumps in, punches Bushman and says, stop this. And then back in the present, Mark's still being absorbed by the brain. Khonshu says, I am not doing this. This is your own fault, your own flaw. You cannot understand. It's like, there, where you always belong, lost in your own pathetic mind. And I have left my eye here so that we can always be together. Always. And it looks like a miniature version of the moon. He says, embrace it, Mark. Touch it and feel my power. Let it flow through you. You will never want for anything again. You will never be afraid or lost. You'll always be here in my glow. And Mark pulls out some crescent darts and throws it at the moon. He says, I did not come back here to join you, Khonshu. I came to kill you. And the moon blows up. He says, and Khonshu's like, arg, no. Do you know how long it took me to create that aspect of myself? All those little craters? Do not do this. If you damage your mind any further. And Mark punches out his brain and says, a little late for that. Khonshu's like, you are an insolent brat. I never should have given you life. Mark says, maybe so, but I'm here now. I'm home, and I'm coming for you, Dad. Then more of the flashback. Bushman threatens Frenchie to take him to the dig site. They leave Mark behind after Bushman and his men kill a whole bunch more people. And then back in the present, it's kind of flashing between the present and the flashback. Khonshu saying, you are all alone with only your fragile little mind. No one will come to your aid now. No allies and no friends to make you feel better about your pathetic, ruined mind. They know how sensitive and fragile you are. They don't want to hurt you further, so they never say it to your face, but you are a liability to them. Deep in their hearts, they will be glad to finally be rid of you. And here you are, the place where all roads lead. This place will be your tomb, Mark. So I have only one question, my son. Are you ready? And Mark says, that's not the question, Khonshu. The question is, are you? Dun, dun, dun! This is a good story. I like it, especially this issue. But, I mean, this is issue 13. And I guess it's technically 2 arcs. But, I don't know. We've been here since, like, issue 1. Let's get this show on the road. But no, it's good. It's a thumbs up.
Okay. Okay, that brings me to the big book this week. $4.99. Worth every penny. The scene I was thinking about that I thought was in Captain America is actually, it's in the first 2 pages of this book, or first 3 pages of this book. Like I said, Captain America is still my pick of the week because we do get a lot more of Cap's backstory about what everything is. But what I loved about this one, this is what I love, is we get this big thing because it opens up in 1945 Japan in some mountains where the Gorgon is, or sorry, not the Gorgon, the Kraken is going to take Cap to the origin point of Hydra. And the origin point of Hydra is a temple with some very Kirby-looking monsters drawn in it. Love that aspect of it. And this is what's really powerful here. because we get the confirmation of my long-held fan theory that Hydra was founded by Sir Isaac Newton.
Mm.
And because we see Sir Isaac Newton here, we see Nostradamus chained up, staring into the pool as Newton's seer. And we get Nostradamus says, the world will be bent, changed, a broken mirror. The dead will be the living. The servants will be the masters, and one will be reborn. Now, then Kraken says he means the Allies' secret weapon. Any moment now, they'll use this cosmic cube to rewrite reality itself. They'll make it so that they, not Hydra, win the war. And who can say what else they'll change? What's funny about that is, of course, that's not what he's saying per se. Mm-hmm. It's just how they're going to interpret it. That's how Nostradamus' sayings always go. Every series' sayings go like that they may be rewritten and reinterpreted. Then we see that basically Steve goes into the pool. We see little Kobik there with Uncle Skull, because they say, the Shaper womb will be all that survives. The break that will be all that survives the break. She will be lost for a time, then made flesh, and the usurper will lead her back to the path. Back to you, Stephen. She will find you, and she will restore you to what you were before the Allies interfered. You and you alone. You will toil and scheme and fight, do all that is necessary to undo their lie, to restore the world that was, and thus our reign will... What was that? Says it begins. Quickly, Stephen, into the pool. It will protect you. Stephen goes in. Now, actually, you know what's interesting about this? And I just realized what they were actually saying here is that what they're saying is that when the Allies reform the universe with their cosmic cube, Steve Rogers will be the Steve Rogers of that universe, which is the Steve Rogers of our universe.
Yeah, he won't remember the Hydra stuff for years.
Yeah, he won't remember the Hydra stuff until
Kobik
restores him. So, and this is the controversy of the whole thing. It's like, they're saying Cap was always Hydra. It's like, yeah, but grow up, people. Your childhood is not ruined. Really. You know what? Your childhood is not ruined because a character turned bad. Steve Rogers is not the first hero to turn villain, and he is probably going to have a redemptive arc by the end of this, Because we already know from a previous issue of Steve Rogers' Captain America that he knows that what Kobik did to him is a lie. Mm-hmm. He knows that it's just a dream, but that all he believes in anymore is the dream. Because he is still Steve Rogers. Not 100% certain how I feel about how they're drawing Sharon this time. I do feel like a lot of times they do play her way too old, but
Oh, that's Sharon? I thought that was Agatha Harkness.
Yes, I know. Phil. No, you can tell it's Sharon because she has bigger boobs. They just, those suits, they just don't zip up all the way. Although I guess maybe the point is that, those are rubber suits. They're very hot. So you do want to keep them aerated. But then really everyone else should be zipping theirs down too. You should be seeing Nick Fury with his zip down. It's like, oh, these things are uncomfortable. Am I right? Skin tight rubber. Why did we make that our uniform?
That's why he's the professor, people. He's familiar with all aspects of the Marvel Universe, including the boobs of old ladies.
Yes, well, we'll move on from there. Okay, so, of course, we've got the Chitauri Attack, and we've got all the heavy hitters out there battling the Chitauri, and just then a bunch of villains start attacking in New York because of Pleasant Hill, and the heroes start fighting them. Meanwhile, Hydra has their nukes poised, ready to launch, and the battle group Iliad is going to find out what happened to the battle group Crescent. All hope seems lost. We see Hyperion fall to the Chitauri. We see Quasar get eaten by one of those things from the movie. Mm-hmm. And we see Mr. Hyde beating up Luke Cage. And we see, of course, you've got Nitro about to blow up Times Square. You see Jessica Jones basically throw him up into the air so that he doesn't kill everybody, but it's still devastating. Probably killed a couple people. Kind of a whole replay of the whole Stanford incident. Then we see the Secretary of Defense, which is some lady, call in. And meanwhile, we've got Riri and I'm assuming AI Tony in his Iron Man armor. Unless we're gonna, yes.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry. That's what I was assuming too. But it's like if you at some on some of these pages, it almost looks like human eyes behind his mask. So I'm like, are we missing something? Are we jumping ahead? Did Tony come out of his coma?
Maybe he did. Maybe he did, or maybe he put himself in an LMD.
Maybe.
I'm guessing in this scene, maybe we're going to see an Invincible Iron Man coming up, that he realizes that he has to, that if they're going to work on the thing, he has to have hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's what I'm guessing. And then they find out that, oh no, everything's back online and the shield's back up, yay! And the Chitauri are just smashing themselves like so many bugs against the screen. And then the other heroes show up, and then the villains retreat, yay! And then they find the helicarrier, except, who's in the helicarrier?
Hydra.
And then, Sharon's... So I was wrong. Sharon was not in on it.
Told you.
Yeah, no, you were right. I mean, I thought for sure... it's this very interesting question about who was the turncoat. Was it Cap all along? I mean, we don't know, and that's still not been answered. What has happened?
Yeah, but the whole turncoat thing, unless it went, I guess they. Kobik altered the past, but I was going to say, it was before Kobik actually messed with him.
I know, and let's not forget that and Nick Spencer wasn't writing Cap at that time, was he?
I don't think.
That was in Sam Wilson Cap. That was in the first.
That was the last issue of like the book before Sam's first issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that was Nick Spencer writing it at that time. I want to say, I don't know who it was, but I don't think it was Nick Spencer. And more to the point, I think at that point they had, there was something going on there. I'm not quite sure what, but yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so Sharon is not the turncoat, and she gets led away by the Hydra agents. He basically gets ready, and then of course Riri and Tony realize what's going on because they are the smartest people in the room. Cap has locked Captain Marvel out along with all the other heavy hitters, which include Rocket Raccoon. He's on the team. And Sasquatch, of course. So basically, the Ultimates and Alpha Flight and the Guardians are all locked out of the Earth. And then, this was kind of annoying on some level. We found out who Bob was. He wasn't the Molecule Man, which would have been like cool, but instead it is actually just Blackout, and he puts a dome over the city of New York again, as you do. Mm-hmm. Although, for what it's worth, that's what the Molecule Man did the first time, too. Mm-hmm. So, there's something happening here. Using the Darkhold, apparently a pocket edition of the Darkhold, but yeah, use the Darkhold to increase the dark power magic, and, because goodness knows Doctor Strange and Dr. Voodoo have never dealt with the dark dimension before. But we see all the heroes that weren't in New York at that time. All us Joyzy boys. Yes. Joyzy in the house. And, basically all the heroes that had since moved out of New York, which does include both Spider-Man, Ms. Marvel, Viv, The original Vision, all the U.S. Avengers, Red Hulk, Scarlet Witch. Oh, now you're in trouble. You know, and Squirrel Girl, who is literally unbeatable. It's in her name. Yeah. But, you know, Cap, they're all going to Washington, D.C. because they're going to go. And, of course, in this, Cap took the time to rebrand all the helicarriers before they got there. You know, good thing he did, because that allowed all the heroes time to assemble. And I'm sure that, you know, someone's going to say to him, you know, Cap, if you just had not taken the time to rebrand the helicarriers, you would have gotten to Washington, D.C. before the heroes could assemble. But it's a good book. I mean, it's a great book. I mean, Secret Empire is great. We do get the final confirmation that, yes, Newton, that Hydra is part of S.H.I.E.L.D. The S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Spear and the Wheel. I don't know what the Wheel was. And who has the Wheel? I don't know. But, and of course, you know, and again, going back to Captain America's speech where he calls out the elites who had sort of ruled over us. And I keep on thinking about, you know, again, the other time when we found out that heroes were secretly villains, the whole time was the Illuminati, you know? Mm-hmm. We found out that, all these heroes that were always our best friends, actually turns out that they actually had ulterior motives. Like, yes, because they're villains. Or they're heroes, and they're, you know, Reed Richards, that bomb-throwing lunatic. Yeah. But anyway, so that's that. That's all our books? Or no, do you have another book, Phil?
I have one more book.
One more book. Well, what did you think of Secret Empire #0?
Oh, it was great. I mean, Steve Rogers is still that brilliant strategist. Now it's just in the service of Hydra. Well, in charge of Hydra, but still, I mean,
yeah.
And Carol Danvers, who would have seen that coming? The shield blowing up in her face.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean. Well, that was Maria Hill, really, and also as you point you know, and then Cap starts monologuing, explaining to them what's going on, and you know, you think about like something like, you know, he probably could have had an explanation. I don't know. I think he's being too forward. I think he's being too worried about branding, honestly, and that's what's going to tear him down is because he's branding it. You know, it's like he can say, "Oh, we're just S.H.I.E.L.D. still." And we're just being your good guys, your friendly neighborhood superheroes. I'm still Captain America, the good guy. Sorry you can't come in, Carol. I gotta, you know, those bad guys keep on hitting against the screen, and you know we can't let it down even for a minute. You know, just regroup to the space station, Carol. We'll get to you in a little bit. You know, yeah, no. But, you know, that's the problem. You become a supervillain. Well, so, and like, you know, and I think that what's going to happen is that Cap's going to become disillusioned with Hydra. Because he's going to realize it's not the organization he dreamed it was. That the dream he believes in is not what Hydra is. And that's actually my big prediction for this, is that the redemption of Cap does not come from him having everything turned back to normal. It comes from him just realizing that, you know, not that his past is a lie as he remembers it now, but that Hydra is a lie. Mm-hmm. That's my big prediction for the redemption. Mark my words. So we'll have to see. But yeah, a very good book, the entire Secret Empire series here. I think it's going to be good. And I hope its sales are good. I know that there are a lot of people, you know, crying about it online because they're whiners out there, you know. Because people who just cannot differentiate fantasy from reality. And, you know, it's like, yes, Captain America is Hydra now. And we know why he's Hydra. We know how it happened. It's not like, you know, it's not like your childhood has been destroyed, because childhoods do not get destroyed that way. You know, trust me, there are people who have actually had their childhoods destroyed by very horrible things, by actual real life Nazis, not just, you know, fictional Hydra Nazis. So, you know, it's probably best not to say, you know, oh, it's so horrible. How could they do this? Because it's like, it's a story. Don't like the story, don't buy it. That's fine. But don't sit there and complain about it. Because, hey, it's an interesting deconstruction. And not for nothing, like I said, this is like the 5th time This has been Marvel's go-to strategy. Honestly, if I'm going to say, if you want to complain about Secret Empire, complain about the fact that they've been doing this over and over again lately. Hero, secretly a villain. Hero, secretly a villain. Honestly, what I want to see is what I really hope they were going to do with the Dark Reign Osborn arc, which was villain, secretly a hero. Because that was one you didn't see coming. But maybe that's what we're going to get with Infamous Iron Man. Okay, what's your last book, Phil?
All right, my pick of the week, Daredevil, number 19.
Ooh.
Opens up in what looks like a bar, Zeb's bar. Matt Murdock sitting there. He says, that's strange. I can see. He's like, should I be able to see? Should I be able to see you? And the bartender, who's looking kind of purple, says, strange. Matt Murdock, the attorney, this is Zeb's place. Anything can happen here. And with the exception of Foggy Nelson, Kirsten McDuffie, Karen Page, and Mila Donovan, everyone else in the bar is some version of Daredevil.
Yes, Zebediah Kilgrave. That's why it's Zeb's.
And the TVs, looks like it's on CNN or something, but the TVs, the headlines are saying Zebediah Kilgrave, a.k.a. the Purple Man. Then another panel says, in total control of Daredevil. And so Zeb, the bartender, is saying, I like to play a game with my customers. It's called The Worst Thing. Let's play. And Matt's like, what's the rules? He's like, oh, no rules. It's just a simple question. What's the worst thing, like the very worst thing you could ever see yourself doing? And Matt's like, I never really thought about it. And Zeb's like, well, now you're just being lazy. He's like, you think I've got all day to wait for you to come up with something good? And Matt's trying to look at the TVs, and he's like, don't look at the TVs, just, come on, tell your friend the Purple Man, what's the worst thing you could ever do? You die before you do it. And Matt's still having trouble. He says, why do you want to know? And because out in the real world, the Purple Man's saying, you might not believe this, but having the power to make people do whatever you want isn't always the blessing it seems. If you aren't careful, it gets downright boring. I've made people, men, women, children, do horrible, terrible, wonderful things. I've done it all. Or they have, I guess. He's like, but it has its limits. Orchestrate one tragic murder-suicide, and you've orchestrated them all. He's like, so now I don't make it about what I want my puppets to do. I make it about what they don't want to do. That one monstrous thing they recoil from, like a cockroach on their toothbrush. The image they can't even believe their mind could conjure up. And then I make them do it, and I get to watch as they burn their souls to ash. It's awesome. And he says, now I've got you, Daredevil, the hero. It's been a long time coming. Normally, you're a little too strong-willed for me. Thank goodness for this machine. It combines my children's abilities with my own, amplifies my power exponentially. I'm going to burn down the world or own it, or maybe both. I'm still deciding. So he's telling Matt to dig deep. What's the worst thing? And back in his head, like a version of Matt, wearing like that black suit like he did on the first season of Daredevil. He's like, the worst thing, I can tell you that. You think about failing the people you love. You think about them dead and gutters because you failed. And the worst is you think about you doing it yourself. You lose control. You put your hands on the people who can't defend themselves. You let the darkness out. And then another version of Daredevil who wearing the three-piece suit from Mark Waid's run says, easy there, friend. We're just trying to have a good time here. So those two Daredevils start fighting. I'm guessing it's Matt's mind trying to break free. But then they show Matt back at home. Kirsten's there, and she says, what are you doing? Why are you with the Purple Man? And Purple Man's saying, don't spoil the surprise. And Matt says, this feels too small. I mean, I've lost girlfriends before. This would be terrible, but been there, done that. I can do better. Or worse. So him and the Purple Man go off. Daredevils are still fighting in his mind. The headline on the TV is saying, this isn't real, Matt. And the yellow Daredevil saying, you're making this too complicated. Keep it simple. Go back to your roots. Then out in the real world, Purple Man saying, why are you just standing there? And Daredevil says, I'm not. I'm listening. Mugging. Kids are about to throw a cinder block in the traffic. There's a jumper on a bridge. And Daredevils are still fighting. One says, you're not thinking big enough. The worst thing needs to be extreme. And then out in the real world, Daredevil says, you said this machine will let you control everyone in the entire world. And Purple Man says, exactly, which is why I'd like you to hurry up. I have plans for this thing. And Matt says, okay, here's what I want. Chaos. So Kilgrave activates the machine. And they show people all over the world fighting. Looks like somewhere in Asia, Paris. They show superheroes fighting each other like they need a push.
Yeah.
So Kilgrave said it's done, and Daredevil says, I know, I can hear the entire city going crazy. And he says, not just the city, the world. And then he says, now what? And he's like, nothing. And Purple Man says, wait, nothing? And Matt says, yes, this is the worst thing. The entire world goes to hell. I know about it. I have the power to help, and I do nothing. And then all the Daredevils are saying, who are you? And then Matt's thinking to himself, Kilgrave asked me about the worst thing I could ever possibly do. I couldn't answer him at first. It's not as easy a question as you might think. You really have to know yourself, not just something bad, something irredeemable. A step in the darkness that closes the door behind you and locks it forever. And Kilgrave's getting all mad. He's like, I'm going to make you step on a puppy. I'm going to make you eat your best friend. And Matt's thinking, but how can you know the thing that's the true opposite of everything you are if you don't know who you are? I couldn't answer the Purple Man's question, not at first. I was lost. But then I was found.
So I know what he's going to do.
Well, he broke control, and he said he takes out Kilgrave by slamming his head into the machine. He said, this part I remember in the moment of release when I came back to myself, realizing everything Kilgrave had done and everything he was going to do. I might have taken it too far, but it could have been worse. And the priest has asked him, did you kill the Purple Man? And he says, no, I didn't kill him. He says something. He says, the Purple Man can heal from anything. He can heal from this too. I don't know if he's being speaking metaphorically or literally.
If you smashed him through the machine, probably he smashed his prefrontal cortex.
He basically just smashed his face into like the keyboard. So.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I mean, it looks like he might have broke his nose or something, but yeah, I think he's still breathing. That's when he's telling.
Okay. I was expecting the thing he was going to do was the irredeemable thing was he killed the guy. He killed Kilgrave.
But they told the priest, everything in the city had gone quiet, so I thought everything had gone back to normal. He's freeing the Purple Man's kids. He's asking if they're okay, and they're like, yeah, we'll be okay. Where are you going? And he says, I have to help Kirsten. I have to get out of here. I have to do something. So Matt swings off, and one of the purple children says, man, that poor guy. We should do something for him. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
Next
I saw
issue,
that
the conclusion. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I found it interesting.
He didn't even kill the Purple Man.
No, I know, that's like the whole thing. This series so far, he's like, oh, I can't believe I made like this deal with the devil. It's like, the way they're painting it, it's not his decision to wipe everyone's mind, it seems like, or unless he comes back in, and I don't know. But I just found the whole thing interesting with the Purple Man, where he's just like, yeah, I'm bored. I've made people doing unspeakable things. Now it's just asking them what they don't want to do and making them do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you imagine that's usually something unspeakable,
Yeah. But it's just like, I have this unlimited power to make people do whatever I want them to. But it's like, I'm running out of ideas.
Well, that's always been, Kilgrave's problem, is that he's got godlike powers, but, the mind of an idiot.
Yes.
That's the thing. He's just some schmo. It's like, what's he gonna do? He's a schmo. He's like, let's let's make everyone wear purple and smile. It's like, okay, Kilgrave.
All right, so that's
way to use your powers.
Yeah. So that's all of it then?
That's all I got, man. I got 5 books, man. Got 5 books again next week, man. I am like, it's still within my limit. This was actually above it because I had one $4.99 book, so it was like 21, and then 24 when you add the DC book. But I can live within that. That's within my price range. But got to keep it under like 25. That's the goal.
Yeah. Well, like Charlie said, there's a ton of books. As we always say, believe it or not, there's books we don't get to. So if you want to be another Stockton Piner and send us a review, it could be audio, it could be an email. Oh, we might be getting soon. We might be getting a review of a book, like you do the marvelous review over on World's Finest.
Mm-hmm.
We might be getting a review. I was talking to Tyler. He's all in the Scarlet Spider, so he said he's probably going to check out the first issue next week. So he might.
Oh well, that would be great to have a distinguished review, I guess. A distinguishedly competitive review or something like that.
Something like that. We'll figure it out. But yeah, Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider #1 comes out next week. So send us reviews. Send us your thoughts on that book or anything that comes out next week. Email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook is facebook.com/allnewmarvelroundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup. We're even on Instagram, Marvel Roundup. And Charlie, where can people talk to you about the Secret Empire?
Oh, they can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Incredible Hulk, and Powerless, and other shows that I feel like whenever I feel like. @Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
And as for me, you can always get a hold of me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And check out all the podcasts I'm on. Before the Bat, Here Enough Said, Legends of DC, Channel 52, and another, like I didn't have enough on my plate. Now I'm a official member of the This Week in Geek podcast. Episode 100 is coming soon, so check that out.
Woo.
All right, everyone. That's it for this week. Come back next week. Like we said, lots of books again next week, including Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider #1. But until then, I have a personal message from Mr. Brian Michael Bendis. Please, sir, try to keep it above the waist from now on, okay? Kids are watching. Good night.